Hello, welcome to rb&d Reviews. I'm Rob, and it's now time to do my top 10 best and my top 5 worst movies of 2011. And yeah, I'm doing it by myself this time, but after I put together my list, I looked at a lot of other critics' lists, including professional ones, as well as my fellow YouTubers, and it was kind of interesting to see everybody's very different and very diverse picks on their list, so I'm going to throw in my 2 cents and just let everybody know these are my opinions. They're not facts, they're just what I believe. Alright, so why don't we start with my top 10 list. So let's get started. Number 10 on my list of the best is The Descendants, the film that came from director Alexander Payne. It stars George Clooney as a man that's practically on the brink of a nervous breakdown. His wife is in a hospital in a coma, and there's a chance that she might be taken off life support. He's under pressure to sell his family's ancestral land, and he finds out that his wife was actually cheating on him before the accident. Now, the dialogue for the movie was straightforward, and it was really great for me to hear. When two characters are together, it's usually when the characters are very open about what they're really feeling, but of course when other characters are in the room, they're acting like everything is fine, when in reality it's not. And but what really made me like The Descendants were the performances. They were realistic, and despite a lot of pain and anger that was happening, nobody really goes over the top with their feelings. It's controlled. The Descendants did drag a little bit in the middle, but I think that Payne struck gold like he did with Sideways back in 2004. My number 9 pick is 50/50, a drama where Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a public radio writer who discovers that he has a tumor on his spine. And the movie was overlooked at the box office, which I can kind of understand because, cancer, a lot of people have experiences with cancer either because they had it or a family member or a friend had it, and it's very tough to sell that because, it's not a pleasant experience, and people may not want to relive those moments with the movie. And on top of that, the trailer made it look like it was a comedy about a character that had cancer, and I don't think that helped either. But 50/50 was a strong drama with very great acting, especially by Gordon-Levitt. When I was watching the movie in the theater, I felt like I was there with his character throughout his treatment as an observer. And it was also nice to see Seth Rogen sort of tone down his comedy shtick when he provided some relief in the movie. And the two of them, Gordon-Levitt's character and Rogen's character, had a very believable friendship. And I also liked Anna Kendrick's role as Gordon-Levitt's therapist too. Number 8 for me is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Now, usually when Hollywood remakes a foreign film, it usually falls flat, but what director David Fincher did with his version to make it appealing was he made it a dark, gritty, shadowy film noir, and he made the characters very interesting to watch because everybody in it has something to hide in their lives, and Rooney Mara I thought was excellent as the antisocial but tough Lisbeth. And all the stories that are happening in the movie really complement each other well. And since I was not familiar with the story before I went in to see this movie, I was sitting on the edge of my seat and wanted to know what was going on and how Elizabeth and Mikhail were trying to solve the mystery of a girl's disappearance 40 years ago. The movie does have some very graphic and disturbing images, but I was very intrigued by this movie, and I ended up going back and watching the movie a second time, and what really interested me was Elizabeth, the character. First time I saw her as this tough, antisocial computer hacker who I wouldn't want to piss off if I was in the room with her. But when I watched the movie a second time, to me, this time she came across more as a fragile and broken person. And I realized when I was watching it the second time that the movie seemed to go by faster. And I'm like, I wonder how I was able to keep track of all the information that I saw the first time. Alright, number 7 on my list is Martin Scorsese's Hugo, his latest film that seems to be splitting people, but what I liked about the movie was that it was paying tribute to movies, especially fantasy and silent ones. There are scenes where characters show visually how they are feeling without the dialogue, and when I first went into the movie theater, I thought this was just going to be a kid's movie about a boy who lives in a train station and he's leading a sort of Oliver Twist-like existence, but the movie ended up going in another direction later on, which kind of surprised me. The performances by the two kids and Ben Kingsley and the story and the direction made the film a very good experience for me. The movie was, I got to see it in 3D, and it wasn't just stuff, getting thrown at the audience, but it really enhanced the images on the screen, so it wasn't very gimmicky. I think I can understand why some people may not have gotten into this movie, but for me, it was an enjoyable, fun movie. Number 6 on my list is another movie that kind of got overlooked at the box office, and I gotta be frank, I almost passed up on it too. It's Drive, starring Ryan Gosling, who plays a stunt driver who spends his time helping as a getaway car for robberies and befriends his neighbor, played by Carey Mulligan, and her character's family. The first half of the movie does move slow, but it allows the viewers to see what Gosling's character's life is like and see him grow fond for Mulligan's character and the character's family, like the son and her husband who gets released from prison. The second half of the movie does pick up a little bit, and when Gosling kind of loses his cool and he goes into violent territory. Sure, this isn't Fast and the Furious, but I think the film shows that you do not need the action to completely tell a story, and I liked that the movie sort of paid tribute to action films from the 80s and car films from the 80s. So it was a very nice movie to watch, and I hope more people give this movie a chance when it comes out on DVD. My number 5 pick, what would happen if real-life superheroes existed? You would get a movie called Super, which is a dark, gritty action comedy about a man who becomes a crime fighter named the Crimson Bolt when his drug-addictive wife leaves him for a sleazy dealer. He takes his revenge on people that the dealer associates with, along with, ordinary street criminals. The Crimson Bolt is not the most mentally healthy person, and like the comic book heroes, he has his share of pain. But what I liked about Super was the sidekick, who was played by Ellen Page. She brought really great energy to her part, and she and Rainn Wilson as the Crimson Bolt, made a very great team together, and Super had some very funny, dark physical humor, and it also made some very good references to comic books, and it does ask why comic heroes are the way they are. It played in film festivals in 2010, but it didn't get a release until 2011 when it was given a limited one, and it was also available on demand. Now it's available on DVD, and Super, it's not for everyone, but I felt like this film was very original and creative.